Hi, guys. Welcome back. I am so happy to be talking to you guys right now. All right, I have a lot of explaining to do, and I'm going to explain it all. And I'm going to explain why I haven't posted an episode in over a year and why I'm doing it now. I'm going to explain what you guys have to look forward to moving forward. I'm going to give you like a mini little life update. I'll give you a deeper dive at another time. But I just have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of things to catch you guys up on. And I hope you're excited as I am for this kind of like next iteration of what's going on. So I'm gonna get really personal with you guys. If this is your first time meeting me, hello, welcome. I'm just gonna, word vomit my whole life out to you, and I hope that's okay. So I turned 35 last year. I'm 36 now. I turned 35 last year, and I don't know why this sticks out to me so much. On my 35th birthday, every time I blew out a candle, every time I celebrated with somebody, I actually had a wish, and it was very clear. And that was the wish. The wish was for clarity. I wished for clarity because at the time I was feeling like my life wasn't my own. Everything that used to feel good to me just didn't feel great to me anymore. Like with work, I love what I do. I love helping people change their eating habits. I love running Nutrition Mish, and I always will. But just even the scope of nutrition just seemed so narrow to me, which I'm going to get into in a second. Because what I really do, what I personally help people with, is so much bigger and broader than that. But I felt like I couldn't talk about it. So something like even doing a podcast episode or putting content out there, it just felt difficult because while I'm very great with that stuff, I just feel like I was capable of talking about so much more and dealing with it on a deeper level. But I sort of felt like I had to like stay in my lane, I had to stay in my niche, like whatever. So work, was a little bit rough for me at that time. At the same time, personally, I was feeling something very similar in my personal life. If you guys follow me on social media, I announced that I got a divorce, which was extremely challenging to do because I was married to an amazing, great guy. He is an amazing, great guy. If somebody called me up today and they're like, hey, I want to date him, I would be like, literally snatch him up before he gets snatched up. He's great, but I just wasn't happy. I just wasn't fulfilled. And I'm going to actually probably do a whole episode just on that because I feel like what I was feeling at the time is something that a lot of people feel. And I just want to share my experience just in case it helps anybody else out. But we'll save that for a later date. The overall arching theme is that I just felt like stuck, I guess. I guess that's a good word. But it was consuming me because I'm not someone that gets stuck. I started my business when I was 23 years old. It grew very quickly. Like I've always been, successful. I've always been like whatever. And I just felt like stuck, trapped. I didn't know what to do. And it was like work and home life. So I was just it was a really difficult feeling, especially since like nothing outwardly bad happened. Like some people like go through shit and I was like, I don't even have anything bad happening in my life. My business is doing great. I'm helping people with, nutrition. I am married to a great guy. Like, stop complaining. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But it just didn't feel right. So on my 35th birthday, every time I blew out a candle, I actually remember doing this. I wished for clarity. And then got what I wished for. This past year has been a roller coaster, which I'll update you guys on. But one of the things, that was difficult for me was showing up, was even like on social media, which if you guys follow me on Instagram, I'm a story whore. I love sharing what I'm doing all the time. But it felt hard to do all of those things. And it definitely felt hard to do the podcast, especially when I, felt like I wanted to talk about things that were so much bigger than just nutrition. Because what I've learned is, what Nutrition Mish does, right? That's Nutrition Mish is my company. We have been so successful at helping people lose weight and keep it off because we truly like change people's habits and we help them develop a nutrition philosophy for them. People always ask me like, well, what was different about Nutrition Mish, versus any other product on the market at that time? Because nutrition, weight loss, it is like maybe the most saturated market out there. And we got so lucky with our success. And I never really could answer that question well until recently. The thing that sets us apart the most is every other dietary or weight loss intervention gets people reliant on something outside of themselves. They get reliant on a shake, an injection, a pill, a powder, a way of eating, whatever it is. And then the second that you stop doing that thing, which inevitably everybody does, you're still the same person. We actually like change who people are. So obviously everyone experiences that a different way. So, our framework at Nutrition Mish is if you're just somebody who, you just need a style of eating that works for you, you really don't know what you should be eating, you don't know what you should be eating at this point in your life, like i.e. menopause or whatever, or maybe your habits aren't so great, like, that's which is a lot of people that goes to, the girls and, my staff, our nutritionistas are so freaking amazingly well trained in that. I typically get the people who know what they should be eating, but because of their relationship with food and because of their relationship with themselves and the scale or whatever, they're unable to do so consistently. So they're the people that, know exactly what to do. Like they can teach the nutrition class. It's not that they don't know what to eat. They just can't do it consistently because of their mindset. And that's like my sweet spot. And that's something I've always been so good with. What I've noticed is, though, the people that I work with there, the nutrition aspect, the weight loss aspect, the food aspect is literally just the tip of the iceberg. 9 times out of 10, these women who are, I work with mostly women, guys too, but whoever, these are amazing, incredible people, women, whoever, who are the most caring people in the world, who I see their potential so much, how they can like show up the world and just shine. But because of their relationship ultimately with themselves, they don't allow themselves to do that. So, and the food is like the symptom of it, right? So like a great example is, if I have somebody who, you know, is a mother, right? And she has, low self-esteem, she might find herself in a relationship, with maybe somebody who, she's taken care of, right? Because, she's maybe a little people please, whatever. And because of she's always like the caregiver, and because she maybe doesn't have like a spouse that's supportive, I'm making this person up, I'm just giving an example. She might rely on food because food is the only like dopamine hit she lets herself have. Like she's not really aware of what she likes. She might not feel worthy of doing things, or taking time for herself. She might not feel like she deserves it. So these incredible women who have these like this amazing potential are living these lives that aren't like really in line with what they want and who they can be. And that's ultimately a lot of times what I end up helping people with. Like people aren't eating usually at this level because they don't want to. It's not like they don't want the weight loss. It's not like they don't want this for themselves. They're doing it because they don't have other ways of like either getting the dopamine hit that you get with food because they don't allow themselves in other areas of their life, or they just don't have like the confidence in themselves to do it. There's so many reasons, but it doesn't, the food and the weight is a symptom of all of that stuff. So what I ended up dabbling in, and I have been dabbling in for years, but I just wasn't really conscious of it, is I'm helping them like work on their relationships. I'm helping them work on their friendships. I'm helping them develop self-confidence. I'm helping them like do all those other things so that like, yes, they have these tools to like manage the food and, all of that kind of stuff, but they also just like are thriving as people. So that's what this is going to be about. I've actually started another company in conjunction. We have Nutrition Mish, and then for people that want this like one-on-one counseling on a deeper level, I launched a company called Mish Mindset, which is like brand new, but it's been so rewarding. And people pushed me, guys, so friggin' hard to do this. I was like, no, I can't. I'm a nutritionist. Like blah blah blah. Like so crazy. I was actually like, we were in Atlantic City for my birthday, and like one of my friends was like, you should have been a therapist, right? And like I like applying my ability to help people like through other modes. Like I like doing it through the nutrition. I like doing it just through like their general life. Like therapists aren't going to give you the answers. Like I'm going to give you the answers. I'm going to give you the answers, and I'm going to like deconstruct all of your problems, and we're going to like fix it. So I launched this whole other company called Mish Mindset, and we're very very new, but I've been able to work with people outside of just the food aspect of it. Really work on like making getting the careers that they want, getting the finance situations that they want, getting the relationships what they want, just help with themselves. And like it's so new, but just watching the few people that I've worked with so far, watching their confidence and like just the way they carry themselves and their energy and what they're capable of just change. It's been so friggin' cool. And that's what I really want this podcast to be about. So we're going to be doing a lot of cool things here. We're going to be covering a lot of topics, right? We're going to cover it all, right? We're going to cover like what's going on in everyone's life. We're going to talk about your relationships. We're going to be talking about careers. We're going to talk about weight. We're going to talk about body image. We're going to talk about like whatever. Like I want to like talk about it all, but under the umbrella of like helping you thrive, helping you kind of like take all the information, take all the things going on in this world, and like how do we kind of like work it to your advantage? How do you have a mindset shift around it? How do you like trust in yourself, right? Just like we do with the food. Like how do you like have this like internal compass where like you just know everything's going to be okay? That's what I want to do. So we're going to be covering a lot of topics, but it's really just going to be about like getting the life that you friggin' want. And eventually I would love to have call-ins, like people actually like call in, because I think I like that's where I shine. Like if you put me on the spot live with a problem, I get the answer. So I want to do that eventually. But for now, what I did was on my Instagram a couple of days ago, I asked people if they would mind, which I'll link my Instagram here. It's right now it's at Mish of Nutrish Mish. Um, I linked my I put my and asked my Instagram, I'm like, give me like a life problem that you have that you would like solved. It doesn't have to be about nutrition. Just like tell me like what's going on right now that's like bothering you. And I actually got a lot of responses, but one of them really stood out to me because it's a topic or a problem that I hear a lot. So I'll read it to you guys and I'll kind of give you my insight. But this is something I want to do where we kind of like take a problem or a topic or whatever. Hopefully, eventually do call-ins. So we're going to do topics sometimes. We're going to either do call-ins or you guys can DM me your issues and I will help you work through them. Hopefully it makes sense to you guys. And then I also want to have guests on, specifically guests who handle their lives differently than the status quo. My like vibe in life, my value in life is doing things differently than other people. It always has been. If you tell me what to do, I will do it most likely. Like if there's a way around something or way to do it differently, like I will do it. And that's actually the other thing that made us so successful with Nutrition Mission Nutrition is like I looked at what the industry was doing and I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like it just doesn't make sense. And that's what made Nutrition Mission so successful. I lied about my age on a job application. Like someone told me I couldn't work as a nutritionist and I was like, watch me. And I like ended up working full time when I was in college. Like I did a lot of things. If you ask my mom, she will attest to that. I am not somebody that does what everyone else does. So, but I think when you don't live your life or you at least question, right, the status quo, I think you end up, being able to live a much richer life than if you just kind of like blindly follow what everybody else is doing. So I want to have guests on who did things differently in their lives just to like give us a different perspective. So people who started their careers differently, people who have maybe different sorts of like relationships, people who have, overcome different obstacles in their life in an untraditional way. Like I want to like hear from people and have people on here who've just like broken through the status quo. So that being said, thanks for listening to my life updates, my rants here. But what I want to dive into for our first thing is I told you guys, eventually I'd love to have people call in live. That'd be so freaking cool. But for now, I asked on my Instagram. And if you guys are listening to this and you're like, I want her to address something, go on my Instagram. It's Mish of Nutrish Mish. I'll link it in the show notes and just shoot me a DM and like let me know. Just be like, hey, listen to the podcast. You asked. Here's my thing. And I would love to address them. But I'm going to address probably one of my favorite ones that I got. So I'm just going to read it to you guys. So she says, I'm going to keep her anonymous, obviously, but she said, hey, as I am typing this to you, half of my closet is dumped out on my floor. I feel absolutely disgusting in everything that I put on. I'm supposed to go out on a date tonight that I just want to cancel. Actually, I'm signing up for a Nutrition Mish tonight, which is awesome, but I don't want to go on this date. I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything until I look better. I literally just want to hide and hibernate until I look better. I know I can't do that, but how do I make myself feel good when I actually feel completely disgusting? I've heard different versions of this a million times. And I'm going to give you my feelings, advice, and answer to it. So I completely understand that when you're at a weight that's uncomfortable for you, right? You aren't going to feel, I get that you're not going to feel your best. Now, a lot of times people have been taught, and it sounds like this person, I don't know this person personally, but it sounds like, a lot of us have been taught when we were younger, especially the generation slightly above me, that your worthiness a lot of the times was tied to your weight. And sometimes people said that directly. Sometimes people said that indirectly, but with their actions, oh, you have such a pretty face, or, oh, she's getting a little chubby, or, oh, if you lose weight, you'll do X, Y, and Z, or whatever. Or a lot of times people that I speak to, at least they have parents that had difficult relationships with food and weight, and then they kind of just project that on. So I think the message that a lot of people received, and if you hadn't received this, then that's amazing, but I think the message a lot of people received subconsciously or consciously is that you're only worthy, you're only good enough when you are a certain weight, when you look a certain way. You're only worthy of love when you look a certain way. And that's the core part of where a lot of this comes from. So when we're thinking about this, the problem is like that's someone's thought pattern. That's how they think, right? Now there's a whole science behind this, but whatever you think, that's how you feel. However you feel, that's how you act. And however you act, that just becomes who you are. So your thoughts really dictate who you are. So if she's thinking, I'm only worthy, I'm only good enough if I look this way or I am this weight, and I can't possibly be loved, or I can't possibly be accepted, or I can't possibly be appreciated at any other weight, like that's going to feel very real. It just is, I had a client who was struggling with confidence once say to me, like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to look in the mirror and be like, I look great, and like say affirmations that feel like bullshit to me? Like, no, they're going to feel like bullshit to you. Of course not. But But when you keep constantly telling yourself that, you're just reiterating this thing. And as far as, the science behind how your brain works, when you do something over and over again, your brain recognizes it as true and it just kind of like plays on autopilot. And then you're just sort of going about your life, mindlessly kind of subscribing to this belief that's holding you back. So here's my advice. First of all, women in general are very hard on themselves. I don't know what you look like. I'm not going to say, oh, whatever, but like, I guarantee you, without even seeing you, you're just being very hard on yourself. Women in general are very hard on themselves. But here's what I will say. Here would be my best advice on how to really handle this differently. What you're experiencing is a lack of confidence, right? And it comes from probably how you were raised, right? If I had to take a guess, like I said, your family probably put it in your head at some point that you're only worthy of love, whatever, at a certain weight, looking a certain way, whatever. There was probably a lot of emphasis placed on the aesthetics. Fine. That's where it's coming from. Does that mean that you can't be confident until you are the weight that you want to be? Does that mean that you have to hibernate? It might feel that way. So how can we make you feel differently about it? So this is my suggestion. Now, guys are very good at this. And I guarantee if we all sit here, we could probably think of a guy that is going to be what I describe here. Confidence does not come with weight loss. I can't tell you how many women I have seen lose significant weight. I'm talking like 50 pounds plus, and they still I've had women that don't even see it. I've had women that still like feel like shit around it. I've had women that still like hate their bodies even though they lost 50 pounds. Like, people think that the confidence comes with the weight loss. Sometimes it does, usually it doesn't. So confidence isn't a byproduct of weight loss. Confidence is just an energy. Now, like I said, guys are usually better at this than we are, but can anyone think of a person? I'm going to say think of a guy because, like I said, guys are better than women are sometimes at this, who maybe like aesthetically isn't the most attractive. Like, the first glance, you're like, meh, like it's not doing anything for you. They're not attractive. But then you talk to them, then you meet them, and you're like, oh, actually, this guy just got hotter. How did he just get hotter? How did he just get more attractive to me? Like, that's kind of crazy. It's because of his energy, right? Like, confidence and even like beauty to an extent can come from energy, right? So I can think of one person who I'm thinking of right off the top of my head. One of my friends is drop dead gorgeous, 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 like model, like goal weight. She's lived at her goal weight. She's beautiful. She like, lives around here. I actually just saw her recently, like, but she's not confident, and guys will come up to her, right? But then like once she kind of like starts talking or whatever, like her energy's closed off, my guy friends deem her as less attractive as somebody else who is like physically maybe less attractive, but has a better energy, right? So you can be drop dead gorgeous, you could be the weight that you want to be, but the energy, the confidence that you're putting out there can make you be perceived as more or less attractive, which the cool thing about that is that's something that you have control over, right? You just have to start practicing it. I have a friend, I could think of somebody else who I know who maybe like isn't as like traditionally aesthetically pleasing as somebody else might be, but she's so freaking cool, and like her energy is amazing, and she is so much hotter and so much more attractive than so many other people in the world just because of that. And this is like a muscle, right? This is something that you have to like work on. I personally, believe it or not, was one of the least confident people growing up. If anybody from high school is listening to this, they would be like, yeah, no, for sure. I even remember, this is so embarrassing, I remember in health class one day, like we were talking about confidence. I went to performing arts high school, didn't go to real high school, so like our classes were super small and like we didn't really have traditional classes. So like our dance teacher was teaching us health, and she was like teaching us about confidence, and I literally remember, this is so embarrassing, raising my hand and being like, but what if you're just not? Like, what if you're not confident? Like, how do you get confident? Because I just remember being painfully aware that I wasn't confident. And anybody who meets me now knows I'm confident as fuck. Like, it was a learned thing. And I think probably I'm a lot more attractive now than I was then, even though I might not look very different, just because of that energy. That energy is everything. And like I said, the cool thing about that is it's a muscle, right? It's something that you can practice. It's something you can grow. It's something that you can control. So I understand that when you put on a couple pounds or you don't feel like you look your best, I get that disgusting feeling. You're 100% valid for feeling that way. I'm just saying it can also be true that people, first of all, probably there's no way people are perceiving you as harshly as you're perceiving yourself. But if you go on that date or if you do that thing, right, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so fat, I look gross, like blah, 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 like, is he looking at me? What am I going to eat? Like, he's going to judge me, blah, blah, blah. Like, that will come off so unattractive no matter what weight, no matter what size you are. If you just friggin' own the room and you're just like, yep, cool here. And like, it's one of those things where you might just have to fake it till you make it a little bit, but like, pretend like you're somebody else if you have to. Create a persona if you have to. But if you walk into that room, right, and you have that like confidence, you will appear like 3 to 5 points more attractive, I think, no matter what. So, like I said, I understand the feeling right now that you're feeling of like, holy shit, I feel disgusting, I feel gross, whatever. Be careful of how you're talking to yourself about it. Be careful of the thoughts that you're surrounding yourself with it and be like, you know what? It is what it is. I can either put my whole life on hold, which is like insane to do, and wait until I maybe hit the weight I want, maybe not. Maybe at that weight, I'm happy with myself. Maybe I'm not. So I've just wasted God knows how much time of my very, very short life. Or I could just make a decision. I'm just going to go in and own the room and like, fuck it, right? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? And I guarantee you, even though it might not feel comfortable, feel out of your comfort zone, I guarantee you, people will be drawn to you, right? People will be drawn to you. People will perceive you as attractive. Like confidence and attractiveness is way more energy than people realize or understand, and you have control over that. So don't put your life on hold until you hit the weight, because you might hit the weight and still not be there, right? But I would start to think about, okay, well, why do I feel this way? Why am I putting so much emphasis on this stuff? And like, yes, I do get why, but like, was it something where you were literally taught you're only worthy if you're like you look a certain way, you're only, worthy of love, you're only going to be perceived as attractive, you're only going to be perceived as valuable if you're a certain way? And those types of things I would remove from my belief system, because that's just not true. And then in the meantime, I would challenge you to like, look, if you're really unhappy with how you look, get a friggin' tan. Tanning makes everybody look like, get a spray tan, whatever. I'll, like, do something to, like, put on something that like makes you feel the best you can. Maybe put on something new, do whatever you can, like wear like a really nice perfume, like do your nails, whatever you have to do to like make yourself feel a little good, just so you can kind of fake it till you make it. But just go into that room confidently. Fake it till you make it if you have to, and just see if people react to you differently. Just try it one time. If it doesn't work and you hate it, you never have to do it again. But I would challenge you to do it, because you can't put your life on hold because you're not happy with how you look. Because even if you start looking the way you want to look, it's confidence is something that you have to learn regardless. It doesn't always come with changing the outward appearance. And like, not for nothing, girl, life is too friggin' short. Like, don't put your life on hold for this. Like, just don't. Do it one time. Go out, make yourself do it. DM me again. I want to hear how it goes. And I hope this was helpful for anybody else who maybe struggles or had this sort of moment for themselves too. All right. So, guys, so happy to be back. We're going to be having weekly episodes that we're going to be dropping every Thursday. I promise you. If you guys have a little moment, and it doesn't have to be weight nutrition related, like tell me about your boyfriends, tell me about your husbands, tell me about your kids, tell me about it all. I want to hear what areas of your life you are struggling in, and let's talk about it, right? So DM me where your issues are, right? And make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you guys next week.